Hey everyone, welcome back. Big news is coming for anyone on Social Security in 2026, and it could affect your monthly check in ways most people aren't expecting. For millions of Americans, even the smallest change in benefits can decide whether the bills get paid on time or not. And this year's adjustment has a twist that might surprise you. Before we get started, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Do you feel like your Social Security checks actually keep up with your real expenses, or do they always seem to fall short? And while you're here, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss important updates like this that can help you plan ahead. Now, let's talk about what's going on. Every fall, the Social Security Administration announces what's called the Cost of Living Adjustment, or COLA. This is the raise that benefits get once a year based on inflation. It's meant to make sure your check has the same buying power as it did the year before. On paper, that sounds simple, but the truth is, how it works in practice is a lot more complicated. This year, analysts are predicting that the COLA for 2026 will be somewhere around 2.7 to 2.8%. That number might not mean much at first glance, so hold on, because in a moment we'll break down what that actually means for your check. And also, we'll talk about why this adjustment may not feel like the relief many people are hoping for. So then, here's the part that really matters. If the increase lands at 2.8%, the average Social Security check would go up by about $52 to $54 a month. That would bring the average payment from roughly $1,865 to just over $1,917. Now, a little extra money each month is always welcome, but here's where things get tricky. That increase doesn't exist in a vacuum. At the same time, the costs tied to healthcare, especially Medicare, are climbing too. You see, Medicare Part B, which covers doctor visits and outpatient services, is expected to rise by about $21.50 per month. So right away, almost half the increase could be swallowed up by that single cost. And Part D prescription drug plans, the ones millions of people rely on, are set to jump as well. The cap that held premium increases down is going away, and plans could raise costs by as much as $50 per month. Now, think about that for a second. If your Social Security goes up $54, but your drug plan jumps by $50, where does that leave you? You're actually behind, even though technically your benefit went up. This is what a lot of experts mean when they say the COLA doesn't always tell the whole story. And for many of you watching, this probably doesn't come as a shock. I hear in the comments all the time, people saying their rent went up, their groceries cost more, their medications aren't affordable, and that the extra Social Security money they get every year never seems to catch up. It's almost like chasing a moving target. Now let's step back for a second and talk about how this number is even calculated. COLA is based on something called the CPIW, which tracks inflation for urban wage earners and clerical workers. But here's the problem. Seniors aren't urban wage earners. The way you spend money looks very different. A larger portion of your income goes to healthcare, housing, and long-term care, things that rise faster than average inflation. So while the official number for inflation might look like 2.8%, your real-world inflation might feel closer to 4 or 5%. That's why many advocacy groups have been calling for a different measure, something called the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index for the elderly. It takes into account the spending habits of older adults, which means it would likely result in bigger adjustments. But so far, the government still uses CPIW, and that's why there's often a gap between what the numbers say and what you actually feel in your wallet. Now, let me share something important. In 2024, the U.S. Census Bureau reported that senior poverty rose, moving from 14.2% to 15%. Nearly 1 million more seniors fell below the poverty line that year. To put that into perspective, people over 65 were the only age group to see poverty rates go up. That says a lot about how tough it's been to make ends meet, even with these yearly increases. And speaking of tough changes, there's another shift happening that many people might not be ready for. Starting September 30th, 2025, Social Security is phasing out paper checks completely. From then on, benefits will only be available through direct deposit or prepaid debit cards. The administration says it's to cut fraud, save money on printing, and prevent delays in the mail. That all makes sense on paper, but the concern is about the people who don't have easy banking access or who aren't comfortable with digital systems. If communication about this change isn't clear, there's a risk of people missing payments, at least temporarily. Now, let's pause and ask, how would that affect you or someone you know? Do you feel ready for change like that? Or would it make things harder? Drop a quick answer in the comments. It's something a lot of people are worried about, and you're not alone if you are too. Another piece of the puzzle here is the bigger economic environment. Inflation is lower than it was a couple years ago, but it hasn't gone away. And President Trump's trade policies, especially tariffs, are adding some pressure. Supporters say tariffs help rebuild American industries, while critics argue they raise prices for consumers. Either way, retirees on fixed incomes are often caught in the middle. Inflation is tough for everyone, but it's especially tough when your income doesn't move as quickly as your expenses. So, let's put this into context. Over the last few years, COLA has been all over the place. In 2022, it was 5.9%. In 2023, it was 8.7%. Then it dropped to 3.2% in 2024, 2.5% in 2025, and now we're looking at 2.8% in 2026. Imagine trying to budget when your raise swings that much year to year. For the 40% of people who rely entirely on Social Security for their income, that unpredictability can make life incredibly stressful. And here's the thing, you might look at that 2.8% increase and think, hey, that's better than nothing. But when the cost of rent goes up $200, or your grocery bill jumps by $50, or your medications get more expensive, that extra $50 or so dollars a month doesn't really cover it. It's like patching one hole in the roof when 3 more just opened up. So what can you do? First, it helps to know that programs exist that can make a difference. Medicare savings programs can lower your premiums if your income is limited. Extra help is available for prescription drug costs. There are even state and local programs for things like utility bills or food. A lot of people don't realize they qualify for these, so it's worth checking. Another option some people consider is part-time work if health allows. Even a small amount of extra income can help balance out the rising costs. And while not everyone wants to keep working in retirement, for some it provides both financial relief and a sense of purpose. Now, looking ahead, the official COLA announcement will come in October. Most analysts agree it's almost certain to be 2.8% unless inflation numbers for September come in unexpectedly low. But whether it's 2.7 or 2.8, the reality is the same. COLA alone won't solve the financial squeeze that many seniors feel. What really needs to change is the way benefits are calculated and the way we measure inflation for retirees. That's the conversation many experts believe should happen in Washington. Updating the formula to reflect real costs like healthcare and housing could make these adjustments more meaningful, not just symbolic. So yeah, the upcoming COLA is a reminder that the system works on paper, but doesn't always work in practice. If nothing else, it shows why staying informed and planning ahead is so important. Now let me turn it back to you. If you had the chance to change the way COLA is calculated, would you keep it the same, or would you push for something like the CPI that reflects seniors' real expenses better? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, because this isn't just about numbers. It's about fairness and dignity in retirement. And if you found this discussion helpful, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future updates. We'll keep covering the changes that matter most to you in plain language without the noise. Thanks for being here today. And remember, knowledge is one of the best tools you can use to protect your future.